Hi there. This is one more edition of what we're calling Green Talks. India has crossed a very significant threshold of 10 billion square feet of certified green buildings this year, 2023. The country has nearly 200 billion square feet of building stock or inventory. So, what are these blessed things called green buildings? Is something that we don't want to actually discuss today. We have with us a lady who has spent about 20 years, I think, on how you approach green buildings and what you do to mentor, counsel companies and individuals who want to go green. Over 20 years, by the way, the country has also seen a shift in the buildings or the building industry sector. And what is that change? What does it presage for the India of the future? This is Hari Haran from Greenwalks. If you're one who finds the challenge of buying an apartment or renting an office for your company gaining focus as costs rise and the crisis on water deepens, then you should listen to this chat with Dr. Anshul Gujarathi. She's part of this series that invites business leaders like her to expand on how they think through the process and what they do to make buildings green or eco-friendly or, well, help your building reduce operational costs or operating costs. This is more of a podcast, as you should have realized by now. It's not necessarily a YouTube series, though it's available on YouTube. You have more to listen than to actually see in this series. Plug in if you're driving or you're on your morning walk. Hi, Anshul, how are you?
So, green greetings for the day from my side. And I am doing all good. Absolutely. Thank you, sir, to
Great.
invite me on this green walk session. And I actually feel that I'm going for a healthy walk now for the next few minutes.
Great. Yeah, it'll be about 40 to 45 minutes. And I think that'll be you come from a city like Pune, I come from Bangalore, and both these cities culturally have had lots of resonating factors for many decades. I remember the first time I went to Pune was in the late 70s, I think. And I found that between the two cities, both were cities for the retired, as they said in those days, and both were cities that were relatively green. So it's nice to see that, you come from that city, while I share Bangalore as a city with many others here. We are 12 million here, you're 7 million your place, you're exploding, and Bangalore has exploded over the last 20 years. You have, if I reckoned right, about 400 million square feet of certified green buildings of this lot of 10 billion square feet. And Bangalore has about 800 million square feet, very close to a billion, or about 10% of India's certified green buildings. What is it that you have done over these last 20 years? I know you have done or counseled about 450 to 500 such buildings to go green. But what is that core essential value that you offered when you have stepped into a client's office, let us say?
Okay, a very interesting question, sir. And this actually takes me back to my career. It is exactly 18 years in green and 23 years with architecture. And the best part is I have never left the word architecture, though sustainability entered the way. And I always mention that my career has evolved with architecture as my foundation. And this was actually the journey right from my days when I was not exactly inclined to do the masters in environmental architecture and planning, because even I was wondering, okay, what must be in there for me? But when the course was completed, I realized there was a new task coming because I learned something out of the box and I wanted to share it to the world. This is the same time, as you did mention earlier, that our country was also having the green interventions. So if you see my graph in the career and India's graph in the green career, we are absolutely parallel. And the best part here was uh, right from exploring and explaining the myths related to green buildings, my career started where I realized that core essential with my work. If I'm not focusing on two aspects, probably I am just a mediocre person. So the first core essential was indeed the economics part of it. And that's how, I really respect you as a person and all those people who talk money and cost boldly. Yes, this is our attitude,
Yeah.
this is our bread and butter, and this is our life. And we often feel shy to talk about money. But I realized when I started my career, people often used to ask me, how much will a green building cost? How much are you going to ask me extra for this particular activity? What all is will be the essential thing for mandating a green building, and how much I have to pay more? And I realized many answers were coming for the same question, and they were also not relevant to each other. So I took this as a challenge, as a core, which made me a differentiator, as I always look at the cost factor and I am actually doing buildings which not add on to your cost, but save on to your costs. I have certain formulae, methods, and of course a PhD to prove things where I can definitely work on the costs better.
You had walked into a client's office. How would you sell yourself or pitch yourself in terms of what you are offering them?
So, yes, that was a big challenge because the developer would definitely ask me, "Ki, what are you adding value? What are you doing? Are you doing landscape, or are you asking me to make my building green in color, or are you going to ask me to put a green glass, or something like that?" And that was a very natural question.
Mm.
And I think my 2 years master's course did help me for these answers. And I was trying to explain them certain concepts which are related to climate, which are related to solar passive design. And they used to divert me to their architects. And then the similar round was with the architect. And the architect would say, "We have been doing things since so long. What are you coming and teaching us?" But yes, the challenge was there. But I would say, on the contrary, I found people who were enthusiastic to learn new things as well. And I mean, full credit to my first client
Mm.
because they actually took it as a challenge. Ki, let's see what this is. Let her give us, we'll give her a chance, and let her explain us, let her add value to the project. And yes, that is how all these things with me started.
And in that project, that very first maiden project of yours, what was that tangible, measurable value that you offered to the client or to the building?
Okay, so the because it was just the start, I realized that it was my first project. It was the first client ever. It was the first project with the authority also,
Okay.
and it was the first project for the jury also. And that is how I got a very beautiful chance here, sir, to actually make the templates. I'm talking of Eco Housing Certification Program. And that was the first ever program which was in Pune because CII, yes, it was a certified platinum building with LEED. And LEED was supposed to be a far off dream that time. And we just had eco housing as one of the options. And that is how we all started
Right.
adding the value to that particular project. So when we actually started collecting the data, analyzing the data, we realized that there were too many errors in the project in
Mhm.
terms of documentation, in terms of calculations, in terms of even architectural drawings.
Mm.
Because there were errors in terms of there were incomplete lines, door window schedule was not properly done, and people were like, just completing the thing for the sake of it.
But that is not a green value. That possibly would have been more like a project management value add.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that is where I'm coming from. And when these things happen, we started also analyzing ki what was the waste which was actually going in the project. After doing all this dissection, now what is the waste? What
Mhm.
was the actual material that was coming to it? Now what is it? Are we taking the material products consciously, or are we just going with the L1 concept? Are we actually looking at the specifications or not? It started with all these
Right.
things,
Right.
including collation of the drawings. So
Right.
it was also realized that
Right.
the landscape drawing and the service drawings were not in the same
Okay.
flow, and
Sure.
that is how many things were changed, altered,
Sure.
and
Sure.
enhanced.
When you drive past that building, and I'm sure you do once a while, has it crossed your mind to stop, look at the building, and say, hey, with my current knowledge, this is what I would have done to this building? And what is that difference or the uh, value add from today's perspective and learning of yours that you would have imputed to that building?
Absolutely, sir. If I have to do that, probably I'll request them to redo the entire project. And I'm sure the builder will not give me any more projects then. I dare not do that.
But on a serious
Yes.
note, 20 years after, do you see them, or 18, 17, 18 years after, do you see them saving considerably on their water or energy costs or any such thing? Have you done some such evaluation?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I'm doing it for all my clients.
Mhm.
And believe me, the first client, I don't mind naming them. It was Nyati Group in
Mhm.
Pune,
Mhm.
and they are still my client. And
Wonderful.
I'm doing almost 6, 7 live projects, running projects with them any time of
Lovely.
the year.
Mhm.
And today we are in a situation that when I'm giving them a suggestion, probably they don't question me back and they accept it with grace. And
Have
I'm
you
not.
have you done a quick balance sheet on that first building and what it has saved so far? You
Yes,
did.
sir, we did do that. And so we realized it did not save the way we talk today with the calculators because it
Mhm.
was the previous version,
Mhm.
but it is actually sufficing the requirement of the end users. I think
Right.
that's a big deal because whatever was planned for the end users, they are still with them, and
Right.
it is satisfying for them.
Right. And in this journey of 23 years, 5 years as a pure architect, then, the first 10 years before your doctoral and the next 10 years postdoctoral, you have done 450, 470 projects. You must
So
cut.
today, if I have to count, we have crossed 520.
Lovely. You see that. You've done 520 and you're possibly currently managing about 15 to 20 projects.
So anytime, I think we have around 36, 37 running projects up to 40.
Hmm.
Yes.
Lovely. From the point of view of the client or of the building, to me the building is the client, and not so much the owner of the building himself. From the point of view of the building, what are things that cross your mind when you first look at a set of drawings? I'm asking you more for that process of thinking that happens in your mind when a
Yes.
drawing is put in front of you and you're looking at the area statement, you're looking at a few other things, and then you say, hey, this is how I'm going to approach it. The reason I'm asking you this question is twofold. One, to see how, if I am one of those viewers who's got a building that is going to come up, or I'm wrestling with some sets of drawings currently in some city or the other, and this Green Walk series is actually watched in probably a dozen cities in India today. What I would like you to see is to put yourself, step into the guy's shoe out there, and then see how you respond to this question.
So, sir, I'm actually doing it.
Hmm?
My father's learning since childhood, taste your soup before you add your sauces.
Mhm.
And whenever a project comes to me, the first thing that would cross my mind, with this set of knowledge, will I buy this project? Will I be one of the buyers for this particular flat, which is a 2 BHK? Will I be investing in a 3 BHK? I am thinking from end user perspective. And when I'm doing that with this set of knowledge, I am actually trying and analyzing this space for all the possible aspects for environment, sustainability along with the maintenance part of it for a long term. So if I'm doing this and I realize, okay, this is not comfortable in terms of cross ventilation or daylight, or this is having this particular issue, I think the screening starts. And this is how then I take a wider vision to the project, and it works, I think, the best. And probably after that, I step into the shoe of the developer and look at it from the angle whether this is a profitable deal for me or not.
In a sense, you're talking of, maybe 5 or 6 clients. One is this client, the company which has come to you, which is putting up this building. Then there is the owner or the guy who's going to actually buy the flat, he or she. The third is the occupant of that building. I might have rented the place, tenanted it out to somebody. If it's a commercial building, you know how those things go. And then the fourth is the neighborhood itself. How does your building, or what do you do building, respond to other buildings on the street or in that ward or whatever? And then there is the local authority, which is also your client in a certain sense, isn't it? Because things that you
Yes.
do has to also impact or comply with those things. And finally is the city, and how what you are doing is beginning to influence or impact the city. How do you see it, in this shall we say, set of tiers of who your client is, and how does that also, have the client come to you? If there is a prospective client, why does she come to you? What is that one purpose which says, hey, let's go to Anshul for this, or to Eco Solutions? What is this?
My PhD has taught me one thing very interesting, that this particular aspect of green buildings, certifications, choosing the flat is all a game of choices. And every stakeholder has their own set of choices. So once we decide what is our set of choice, probably we can approach this particular project in the right ways. And when I meet the client, I also look at their sales team. So I often tell them that, ask your sales team not to just go on admiring the project. Give them a holistic, real view. And when these people are doing that, the end user who's actually putting their entire lifetime money into this project, they don't have any kind of suspicion about the developer. And I think having this trust factor makes a very big difference. And similar trust factor gets developed for the developer as well. And believe me, sir, till date, you will not see any advertise or any marketing thing from my side. It is 100% references that I have been working upon. And my major reference is why people come to Anshul is, if one developer is working with me, they will realize that I'm getting my project certified. This lady is not troubling me, and rather she's giving her suggestions which are acceptable, non-acceptable is up to us, and she's not bluffing on anything. So I think there is a trust factor that gets created, and almost every client is a repeat client with me. I'm doing per client, maximum I have done around 43 projects till date, one client. And I think there are only 13 to 14 clients where they have just one project with me. Others all are multiple.
Good Lord.
And the references are majorly also coming from other consultants. There are many architects who are referring, there are MEP consultants who are referring me. And probably, sir, I find when I did my other studies regarding business, because I was never trained in business or management. So the limitation I realized, because I am moving in a sphere, I have always been in this sphere. And
Okay.
probably that's how, we have grown to what we have.
Yeah. Allow me to dwell a little bit more on this. Let's take a business as usual building, a regular conventional building. Let's say it's a 500,000 square feet residential building, and I reckon that will mean something like, say, 430 to 450 flats, if I were to take, say, 1,200 square feet to be the average. Now,
Okay.
as against this business as usual building, Anshul and Eco Solutions brings another building and says, hey, this is the building that Gujarathi is steering, of course, with the architects, the MEP consultants, and the other professionals remaining intact and doing what they have to do. What will be the difference?
So the difference definitely first will be in the balance sheets.
Okay.
Because that will be my core. And I will try and see that if a project is proposing certain budget, I will see how they can go down to it. And the second part that I will be doing is we'll do a detailed analysis, and we will definitely see to it every consultant is well coordinated and integrated for the project, and they are giving the right options, design options, because it is wrong on my part to suggest them ki you don't give this particular thing, or go with this, but I will check on the specifications undoubtedly. I will not pursue them to go with certain brand or this particular price, but I will definitely make sure that their specification is not hampering the environment in any possible way. And secondly, it is imparting the right comfort for the end user. And
Okay.
third most important thing, I don't have to, or nobody has to talk about my buildings. They will speak for themselves, because my third core remains in creating awareness.
Mhm.
And that has been one of the major aspects that I'm really working on.
Mm.
Because what happens, sir, we all consultants, stakeholders, we do the project, and the end user who's actually using the project is not aware of any of these things. So they are the ones who need to know, they are the ones who need to understand how to use that building. And one is end user perspective, and secondly, if they are comfortable and they are not complaining, I think the building is a successful building.
Give me an example of such sensitizing or awareness building that you do for the end user.
Okay, so I'll give you a nice example. During the pandemic, um, we were, we often look for the ideal situation where the building is occupied 24/7 with 100% of the occupants. So pandemic was one of those times, and it was realized that few societies had to actually ask for tankers, because the water they were using was not enough. And somehow they realized that the bore that they were pumping water from, they were having a lot of insects, and the water was not good, and they had to rely on the tankers. So one project was getting 24 tankers a month. So
Oh.
this is all noted, calculated. And it so happened that the adjacent building of similar scale, not same, but similar scale, was under our certification, where the developer was after us कि pandemic है या नहीं, आपको तो काम करना है. And we were doing that, sir, because it was more on the virtual grounds. And then we did the calculation, and we realized that this particular project was occupied, and it was using absolute 2 tankers a month. And the difference between 2 and 24 tankers was actually noted for around 8 months. And I don't have to speak anything on this. This is a huge saving and the impact that a green building can cause. I just mentioned one small aspect of it.
Absolutely. And to go back to what you said earlier, that, when you step in and steer this aspect of various things inside in a building's project planning and so on, that you also bring down the capex, if I heard you right. That is, if there is a certain capital cost that the baseline, working of the builder has shown, and Anshul has stepped in, she shows him that this can come down by X rupees per square foot. Give us an example, please.
So, one project, the developer was very reluctant to go with a green building, their first project. And they said, this is all bullshit what you are talking. So I said, sir, chalo example, isi pe work karte hain. And glad to share, I could get down their cost by -7%. And how? So it started with a very, very basic thing. They were like, we don't want platinum, gold, whatever rating we get, we are good. So they went with IGBC certification. Secondly, they mentioned, I don't believe in giving solar hot water systems, because I feel as a developer, that person felt that hot water really doesn't work. I said, okay, that's your belief. I will not force you. That's not a mandate for us. Without that, we did some working based on the landscape design. We asked them to do some basic changes in their openings of the doors and windows, some
Mhm.
schedule reworking. I requested them to add. So this is a very bad thing, sir, and I don't mind mentioning. We have to request the architects and the consultants and developers sometime, especially for
Mhm.
kitchen ventilation, kitchen lighting. And I did the same thing I asked them, ki don't paint the ducts, you can actually put lime up direct lime paint lagaiye, and that will probably help me to enhance the lighting part of it and also maintain that particular space with disinfectants. So they did that. All of it, I asked them to shift to water-based paints and not the
Okay.
typical oil-based things. I did request them to go with FSC certified wood. And when the supplier started asking for a higher cost, I put up a written notice to him. Are you procuring from an illegal forest? And he said, no, we are all doing legal things. This is the FSC certified. This is the COC number, same cost. Same thing I did for people were talking of low flow fixtures. I said, no, people are giving low flow fixtures. And if you don't want to go with certain type of thing, let us measure it. So we did certain measurements and it was well accepted by the certification authority as well. And just doing all basic requirements, but in the right way and right time of the project, I think we have come down to a huge cost.
Wait, you said 7%, and that 7% is on how much that they had as a baseline cost?
Okay,
was it like 1,800 or 2,000 per square foot?
No. So this was around 2,400 per square feet.
Okay.
And we could overall come down to 7%.
So you're talking of about 140, 150 rupees per square foot. And what was the total square feet area of that building?
So this is around 3.5 lakh square feet.
Okay. On 350,000, 150 is still a lot of money, about half a crore and more.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. But today we have another reason called incentive to go ahead with these things.
That's right. That's right. In a sense, you're saying that this is not about methodology. This is not about only going green. This is about enhancing the quality of asking every step of the way. And if one looks at it, the Excel sheet of a building's, project costs, there would be possibly 15, 20 rows, the shell and the warm shell and the cold shell and so on. And then you will have some of the finishing elements. You talked about some of the finishing elements here. And there'll be some passive elements that you can possibly ask the architect to refine and so on. So you are going through this entire process of planning and also refining the quality of vendor management for the company.
Absolutely. And here, I think the massive impact happens with the solar passive design. That's one of the major impactive factors whenever we are talking about green or sustainability.
Right.
And the developers who do mention that they have added certain cost are the ones probably who cannot meet the solar passive strategy, and they are adding one by one elements which are costing them to enhance the overall, certification.
Sure. Of the 520, 550 projects that you have steered and are steering, as a percentage broadly, or even as a number, how many would be commercial buildings?
So I think around 40% are into the commercial sector, which will include your offices. I would also include the resorts and the hotels in the same sector, even the mall part of it. While my residential sector would be around 40 to 45%, and remaining, I'm glad to share, I'm doing a lot of industrial work as well.
Oh, wonderful. And can you explain that, please? When you say industrial, what does that mean?
Okay, so I have clients who are into FMCG sector, who are into food processing. I have ancillary for automobiles. Then I have people who are working with electrical equipments. They are all manufacturing units, what I'm talking, some pharma industry as well. And so as an architect and talking about green buildings and environment, when the word process enters the system, we realize the energy consumption, what we talk, doesn't hold any sense. And the kind of process and the methodology, probably we are not trained for that. So it was a task for me to actually enter the industrial zone and then talk of efficiency with them, because I think they are the ones, if they are making 1% difference, the other sectors are making a huge benefit out of it. So that is how I have been into industrial sector. And of course, talking of the building envelope, talking of the region and
Right.
the comfort of the FTEs, the full-time occupants or employees, how they are commuting, because a lot of stress in the industrial projects have been given to the transport because of the location of these industries. And
Right.
along with that, yes, sir, I did try and intervene in the process part, but that is only with the team and whatever is feasible
Mhm.
for the project.
So, in effect, you're saying that you have a healthy mix of residential, commercial, hotels, and hospitality, and so on, plus industrial. And if I were to ask you explore another dimension, which is uh, you are not actually, if I sense it right now, if I understand you right, coming from only certifying the building. You're looking at also the active components of water and energy and what they can do to bring down their operating costs in these two areas. Am I right? Yes.
Absolutely. So I am talking sustainability. I
Right.
have been talking sustainability on a broader scale with my
Hmm.
PhD, the third part of economics part
Right.
as well. I have been covering it, and the social aspect along with awareness creation and the governance part of it also.
Yeah.
So we did start with sustainable consulting as well,
Hmm.
and we are into ESG reporting, ESG consulting, and I mean, that's still the sad part, which I am not very happy with it, because I see anybody and everybody coming up and talking the same language, same jargons. And I'm very unhappy with the jargons because people don't understand the meaning, and they just put forth the words. So this is how the market has been. And
Right.
whenever I'm looking at a project, it's a holistic approach.
You know, a couple of days ago, you and I, you talked about green credits and this new landscape that the government of India is sort of laying out. I know you're wrestling through this idea of what it means to a client at the new building or at the or as a retrofit for an existing building. What are your thoughts on this green credits landscape that is emerging?
So I think so it's still evolving, and it has to take its own time. But we need people who wish to give it a try, who want to just explore it, but not half-heartedly. They have to do it with complete consciousness
Right,
and commitment.
right.
And yes, we have people who are already stepping stones on this pathway as well. And very soon we will get ultimate results as well.
Right.
So talking of
Yeah.
net zero as again as another path, and circularity
Mm.
another way, decarbonization, we are talking on a very large scale, but many a times people don't understand what they are talking also. So I think yes, with time everything will be in the right place, and
Sure.
a very
Sure.
strict compliance
Mm.
in case comes
Mm.
up, I think many of them will get washed out.
Yeah, that leads me to another thought. You also talked about ESG, and you know about BRSR and so on.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to put it this way, if you took your last 100 projects, completed projects, took a baseline business as usual set of numbers on whatever they would have consumed at either the embodied level or the construction level or the operating levels, and compared it with yours to show a delta of carbon saving. You talked about decarbonizing. That will give you a story that you might want to take an offer to new prospects. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I'm glad to share, yes, the first part is already in progress.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep monitoring the savings, but I take it to the minimum level. So
Okay.
I anticipate, because with time, the project might not show 44% of water saving, what the calculator shows, or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
at least the minimum savings will be there. So
Mm-hmm.
based on that, yes, we have been doing certain calculations in terms of water saving, energy saving, and carbon impact as well.
Right. And If I may ask you this question, you can, of course, refuse to answer this. If I were to take the last, say, 100 projects, how many
Hmm.
square feet would that be? And how much do you think, as millions or billions of liters of water, they would have saved? Or in terms of energy units, they would have saved? Approximate.
No, sir, I have the numbers.
Wonderful.
And I think they'll be flashing on my website very soon. It's all under
Oh, lovely.
construction. I
Wonderful.
don't have it right now with
Okay.
me, but yes, they'll be seen
Fair
on my
enough.
website. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. As a rule of thumb, again, this is a question for the larger viewers. If, let's say, you're doing a 500,000 square feet building, let's say it's commercial, what are the savings numbers you are likely to achieve on water saving, on energy saving, and carbon saving?
So, yes, on an average, if I have to save, any certification would mandate me to save around 20% of water savings.
Mhm.
But I think if the right methods and the technologies are applied,
Mhm.
and if the area is having good rainfall potential, we can go up to saving 35 to 40% of water in a
Easily.
commercial building, wherein the end users are probably not in our control. And if
Absolutely.
and if the end users in our control, or probably it's a company owned project, so we can actually take them up to 55%.
I must share with you beyond this forum some, shall we say, insights into one project where they needed 300 KLD, 300,000 liters a day, which is about 110 million liters a year. And today, from a point 2 years ago when they had just two bore wells giving them 20,000 liters a day, they are net sellers of water. At the end of this year, meaning 12 months, they started, say, 2 months ago, they will have more than 110, actually, they will have about 130 million liters, and they're looking to see how they can sell a good chunk of that water from outside of the campus. So
Absolutely.
so it's not about 20, 40, or 70%. Net zero water says even 70 or 75% is fine. But I'm beginning to see that you can be net water super positive and not just
Absolutely.
positive. Hmm?
Absolutely.
It's an interesting aspect, and I'm sure professionals like you will drive more of those things.
So
Now,
we already are working on two of these projects, and things are already in progress because we have to show the 12 months history.
mhm,
We are
mhm,
waiting for the 12 months to get over for
right,
net zero water, net zero energy, net
right,
zero waste. So yes, there are clients who are already into this particular aspect.
right. Let me share with you, shall we say, a note of dissonance. Even to this day, Anshul, I must tell you that, I talk to a company sometimes at senior levels, vice president and beyond, when they are setting about a new project, or they are actually looking to see if they can bring some efficiencies on their current buildings. And what do I hear from most such managers? All they're interested in is this end objective of, hey, I don't want to know the story, but I want to know what you will do to solve my water problem. Second, what is it going to cost me? They're not interested in listening, discussing a cost which is, let's say, with a good investment payback of sometimes less than 12 months, sometimes 24 to 30 months. What they do is they lapse into this entire challenge, the grosser challenge of negotiating on L1 and L2 and so on. Is
That's
this
true.
is this a challenge that boards of directors of companies have to take up in a way that they, shall we say, educate or sensitize their middle-level managers to approach these challenges better in some different ways?
Absolutely. I think, sir, yes. I would rate this under the third aspect of awareness.
Mhm,
And I did give a try with one of the companies
mhm,
that how we can do this, because what happens is the concepts are quite clear with the top management, and they want to do it for multiple aspects. But the mid-level stream needs to understand that if they are asked certain aspect to be, as a compliance for their company, there is certain reason and there is certain impact probably which is not coming immediately, but it will take some time. So yes, developing that particular patience is also important,
Right.
and not going with the L1. I think it's the core need of the hour.
Absolutely. I keep telling people it's not L1, L2. It has to be T1, T2.
Yes.
And, if there isn't, the moment you say this, people assume that it means that the cost will go up and someone's going to recommend L2 instead of L1. It's not necessarily so, as you know.
So I
How do
would
you,
put it
yes,
as V1 and V2. That will be how good you are matching the vibe with the consultant.
you see that? Absolutely. I know. Yeah,
So
it's an
if that
interesting,
matches, I
yeah,
think the project is half done, because
absolutely.
that
So,
will not give you the
yeah,
negative aspect to
yeah,
start any project.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that makes a
right,
very, very big difference here.
right, right. Going forward, where do you see Anshul Gujarati? Where do you see Eco Solutions going between now and say 2035?
Okay, so no, a very difficult question, sir, because I have been so engrossed in my own world doing this particular thing that I did not think about it. But definitely, what I understand, two things. I started from a very, very humble background. There was a time that I was earning my own bread, and I had a choice whether to travel by bus or eat breakfast. So, yes, I have done my studies in this kind of aspect, and I have done my hard work. And definitely, the kind of satisfaction that you need for yourself, I think I retain that, and I'm very happy about it. So probably I don't want to take my company or even myself anywhere, but whatever I am doing, wherever I am, I'll be doing good work, and I'll be doing it with complete sincerity and quality. I think that is how I see myself any time of the future,
Sure, sure.
because I don't want to get into the hassle of running behind money.
Right.
I never
Mm,
did.
mm.
Today, see, money is running behind me because I take it with me. I am holding the
Absolutely.
cost factor. That's my core. And I am respecting that particular thing. I
Right.
think I don't have to go anywhere. I'm just happy doing what I'm doing.
God bless. Very nice. Very nice to hear this. You talked about awareness at least three times today in this 30, 40
Yes.
minutes. I also know, well, you've been doing some inspiring work when it comes to holding workshops, seminars, conferences, all kinds of such meetings for professionals. Now, this business of creating market ecosystems which begin to, therefore, raise the demand for such solutions. If I were to take that in itself as a business challenge, how do you think Anshul will want to address this over the next, say, 2 or 3 years, outside of a business or from inside of the business?
Okay. So I have been hearing a lot of things about greenwashing. Okay. So I started something called green garnishing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so green garnish is another social awareness tool that I am actually exploring. I got it registered as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm working very much on this particular aspect of taking it to a different level, because here we keep criticizing that, see, this person has done something wrong and this is how bad it is. I believe in celebrating their success. So, how I see doing it is, probably if somebody has done a good work, let's appreciate and celebrate that particular thing, because it's going to make an impact not for that particular project or person or anybody, for our Mother Earth. That thing is coming up. So, people often ask me one more question, sir. I don't mind mentioning here. Whom do you look as your core competitors?
Right?
So, I say that every person today who's working with green building sustainability, they are all complementing what I'm doing. So we are all complementers towards a single cause. And that is how the word competition comes only when we are sitting on the board. Let's compete and save maximum what we can. It's not between us.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I think that's a good reflective note upon which we should end this absolutely lovely, delightful chat that I've had with you. Thank
Yes.
you, Dr. Anshul Gujarati, for being with me here today. And thank you, folks, for listening into this one. If there are any questions, you could always send this out to us. You will see the subscribe link and you'll see comments showing up. You want to talk to Anshul Gujarati directly, you're of course welcome to do so. And all you need to do is to check out our LinkedIn and join.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.